Hi, do you like taking a look into other people's sewing spaces? I know I do. I like to take a look at their studio, sewing room, crafting room, whatever they want to call it. I love to see the equipment they have, the fabrics, the crafting supplies, how they have it set up, how they have it organized or unorganized, because I know my space is not always organized. Today, of course, it's organized. But when I'm in the middle of a project and I'm just getting things done, I certainly like it to look like this, but it does not always look like this. But I'm going to show you today my sewing studio. My name is Rena, and I'm the owner and designer at the Rustic Horseshoe. Let's take a look at my studio. Welcome to my studio. I'm going to start at the entrance to my studio, which is just a 10 by 10 bedroom in my home. So I've made the most out of the space that I have. Of course, I would love more space, and someday maybe I'll have that. So I do have overflow fabric, overflow stuffed animals that I keep for samples and stuff out in storage. But here's my working space. So of course I have an ironing board. I'm pretty sure everybody's got some version of an ironing board in their sewing studio. And then I have my shelving, and my shelving here is for storage for my stuffed animal samples. I have room to add some more. And that of course gets shifted as I change samples out and put some in storage and whatnot. And then you can always see what I'm working on, because this bottom shelf and the counter have there's seven pig stuffed animals right now. And these are my samples for my upcoming Swanky Swine sewing pattern, or Pudgy Plushy sewing pattern. So you can see what I'm working on. They're usually in various stages of completion. These guys are pretty much done because I am now at the filming part of my tutorial, which I'll show you that space in a moment. All right, so that's there. And then, so I have my cabinets and my drawers, and I'm not gonna go through all of them. You'd probably get pretty bored, but we'll give you a peek into a few of them. This one has a block joint armature, which I use for neck support. I use for posing arms and legs like in the sloth, and for jointed necks and movement. And this is also what I use in the sassy serpent pattern to make the snake really movable and posable. So just kind of a drawer of a few random things, but mostly it's got those things in it. And then all my cabinets up here have various fabric. Of course, these are like satin fabrics and stuff that I use for unicorn horns. I don't use a lot of that anymore, but I keep it on hand because you never know what you're going to want to make. And so I kept some of it. And then some minkies. As you're going to notice, and with any place that makes plushies, I would imagine, you're going to see a lot of minky fabrics. And that's some more of that. And then here's a fun thing. I started with stick horses, and when I would make stick horses, I bought all these little mini branding irons in the whole alphabet and all the numbers and some shapes. And I would offer to brand the names of the child, onto the stick. And so I still have this whole set of branding irons that I have organized here, so it was easy to find the letters I needed and numbers I needed. So I just keep that because you never know when you need to burn something. And then just kind of, I've got paintbrushes for painting my eyeballs, chocolate because that's an absolute necessity. And then this cabinet is a favorite of mine. I found it at Hobby Lobby, and not only does it have like the perfect size drawers for a whole bunch of random things, it's got turquoise on it, or the turquoise shade. So I love this piece, and it is so functional. It works perfect for so many things. And being a stuffed animal maker, a lot of these drawers are filled with eyeballs, but there are some other random things. I'll give you a peek into some of these. Again, I'm not sure you want to see every single drawer, but we've got various eyeballs, and I really do have a ridiculous collection of eyeballs. I will sometimes get some that I think are really cute, and because they're really cute, I don't use them, which is weird, I know. But someday I'll figure out the perfect project I want to use them on because they're special. And then there's different style of eyes. My go-to eyes are clear eyes that I paint. So I have some in here that I pre-painted. I still have some that are clear. And there's some more eyes here, some ridiculously big eyes. Those are 40 millimeter eyes. And then little eyes. Seriously, I have eyes from small to big. 40 millimeter is the biggest size that I have, but I like this whole section right here is all different eyeballs. And then I have eyelashes, different kinds of eyelashes. These are the strips of doll lashes, which you can sew onto the eyelids. And then I always have quite a few pair of just regular fake eyelashes. Sometimes I'll get something fun and then save it and not use it because I haven't found the right project yet. But funny story, when I went into Walmart one time and I bought like 2 or 3 packages of these with 2 or 3 bottles of super glue, and that was all I was buying. So the cashier was a little concerned, and she gave me a really weird look, and she said, "You do know that you don't put these on with the super glue, right?" And I thought for a second about what I could sarcastically say, and then I was just like, nah. And I just told her what I used them for and eased her mind that I was not gluing them to my face with super glue. And then this is super random, but I'll also save squeakies out of dog toys because my dog loves to tear them out of toys that she gets. And so I save them if I decide I want to make something for her to tear up that has a squeaky in it. Let's see. Ribbons, trims. I used these for like bridles on camels and stuff like that. And more ribbon. So this is like my favorite piece of furniture in here, except for my sewing table, because, well, that's awesome. And then I have shelving with all these fabrics are like a fat quarter or less, so they're good for small pieces, scraps, whatnot. And then here I have all of my patterns that I currently have published and printed. I always keep a copy and I put them in this nice little binder, which this is a good storage idea for patterns if you want each one to have its own pattern. Of course, you could do a 3-ring binder. There's all kinds of ideas, but here's one. And I love these things. I got them off of Amazon, and it's just each page individually. It's bound just by, kind of glued in there and pressed in there. And they're really neat and easy. So that's how I store my patterns that I have published. So I always have them on hand. And if I need to refer to one for whatever reason, whether it's to answer a quick question, I don't have to go turn on my computer and pull it up and everything like that. I've got it handy right here. So this is my cube shelf that I use as several purposes. It serves as a backdrop to my videos when I do my video tutorials and stuff like this. And also it serves as fabric storage because behind each of these plushies, you can see I have stacks of fabric back there. It's all Minky and Lux Cuddle. And then the stuffed animals, they're on display there because they're cute. And a fun thing that, well, not fun, but a good organizing hack that I like to use is when I fold up my fabric, I fold it so that it fits the shelf width. And then I have a 3-inch wide piece of felt, a strip of felt that I cut to bind the fabric because it makes it where it holds the fabric because Minky and Lux Cuddle can be super slippery, as I'm sure you're aware. And so when you stack it, it doesn't always stay stacked, and if you pull one out, like the whole pile falls. This helps grip things, it helps keep things organized, and I love this idea. And then I put the color on it and pin it in place. You could put, I already know that this is a Lux Cuddle hide because I'm very familiar with them, but if you don't remember what kind of fabric it is, You can write the name of the fabric, the name of the color, and then if you need to know how much yardage you have, you can put that on there too. So a tag makes it nice. So that's my fabric storage tip. That's my go-to. That's how I love to store fabric. And smaller ones, smaller pieces of fabric I roll up and I'll bind as well, and then I put them in a drawer. So all of these drawers also have fabric in them. Some are rolled, like that one that I just brought out. Others are folded, just like they're folded on the shelf. And so that's pretty much what's all in there, is more fabric, because I just can't have enough fabric. All right, let me show you my sewing table. This thing is awesome. All right, so this is my sewing table, and I absolutely love it. I got it at a sewing quilt festival show in Phoenix, Arizona, and it was the floor model, and it works perfectly. It barely fits in my studio. It takes up a lot of space, but it is all working space, and I absolutely love it. And then when I need to, I can fold this all up to this size right here, because this end folds up, this folds up, this goes in, and the cupboard's all shut. And then I can put an air mattress in here, and it becomes the guest room temporarily when we have somebody visiting. So I love this for many, many reasons. So as you can see, it's got this end that folds over. This spot here, the sewing machine can push down in. This piece comes out. And I can put this wooden piece in its place so that I have a solid top, and my sewing machine is tucked inside the sewing cabinet, and I have a flat space to work on. And then when it closes, this part comes up and this will close. And it also has a really big table piece that pops up in the back, so that if I was working on, say, a quilt, which I have not yet. So what I have used it for is sewing a banner for somebody. When I was sewing the condor wings, when you need more space, and that really makes it tight in here, but it fits. So, and then it's got these nice little shelf drawer thingies where I have all my tools that I need readily available, such as my scissors and my forceps, alcohol markers, super glue for those eyelashes, well, not for mine, but for the ones for the animals. And then we'll flip around here and I'll show you the drawer by the side. Okay, so it also has this piece that rolls out, and this piece will roll back in and close up into the cabinet, which is awesome, but it's got the things I need handy right there to sew: needles, my bobbins, thread, pins, all the fun stuff. And then I have a drawer full of thread. I'm pretty basic with my thread as far as it. Using Minky, it hides a lot, so I just kind of take what thread I can get if somebody's getting rid of it and it's kind of used, I take it. Don't really care what color it is. And then, so what I'm currently working on my sewing table that you can see is my Swanky Swine pattern. And when I do my pattern, I have it all set up, and this arm here that you saw when we were talking about the sewing cabinet is my camera mount for the camera that is currently being used to film this. So that camera is set up and it's pointed down here onto this table. This light is moved down so that we get a little bit better look. So you might recognize that view if you've watched any of my sewing tutorials, because that's where the pinning and the sewing and everything takes place, is under the camera and light on my sewing table there. And then my daughter edits my videos for me, which is awesome. She does a wonderful job. But she needs to know where the steps are and be able to clearly find them. So when I start a new step, I use this handy dandy little board that I can just clip here and say whatever it is I'm working on, put it in front of the camera. She knows what step we're on, and it makes editing easier for her and the whole process just easier. So it was like a little clapboard. So, and then I'll show you this. This space over here. So you also saw this in the pan out where I have this light pointed down. You can see right now I have the front panel of my Swanky Swine here, and then I have another camera, which is the camera I use for taking my photos for, well, all my photos, the photos of the finished stuffed animal, the photos of the tutorial process, all of that. So I'll work over here, do my video part, then I bring the piece over here, do my still photo part, so I'm back and forth the whole time while I'm filming and photographing for a tutorial. So this is the space I'm at like most of the time in my studio, and it works great. Okay, and this is the last wall to see in my studio, and it's counter space where I use to lay out projects. As you can see, I've got some projects sitting there that are waiting to get addressed. I've got paints, which I use for my eyes. This is where I paint my eyes. My husband has taken a corner of my studio. He does leather working and random things. So he's got some of his stuff up there and on all these drawers. And these drawers are just kind of general craft supplies that I just haven't got rid of. I don't really use them anymore, like the boas. But I have all these wonderful boas that I used for Stick Horse Party Favors. And who knows, I might use them again. I did pull them out and applied them to my Debonair Dragon as an option for like the spike on the back. So if you're a crafter, sewer, whatever, you understand. You just don't get rid of everything just because you're not using it, because you might circle back around to it, or you might have that project that you just might need it for. And real quick, I'm going to turn your attention to my logo. This is my original logo. My husband made this sign and I painted it. We used it at the tables that I was at when I would do vending booths and sell my finished stick horses and other finished items. I don't do in-person vending events anymore, and I've kind of changed up the logo a little bit, but that's the original one, and it hangs in my studio. Just kind of claims the room for Rustic Horseshoe. So up here, these cabinets, except for that one that my husband's claimed over in the corner, has fabric. One has yarn in it because, again, I made a lot of stick horses and things. I used yarn, and I did get rid of a lot of yarn because it was taking up a lot of space when I stopped making them to sell the finished product. But I still have one cupboard of yarn just in case, because I'm not done making horses. And then fabric, like I have this fabric is full of cotton. I don't use a lot of cotton. I use it for my tutorial samples because it's easy to demonstrate with, and it also shows how the product or how the plushie looks in the cotton fabric, because I know a lot of people do like to use that as well. But most of it is going to be minky. And then these drawers again are just more random tools, supplies. But I've got one drawer that's just full of like my interfacings, my foams, the interfacing that's used inside. Well, this was the wing for the pig, because pigs fly, inside its ears and its snout. So that's a foam stabilizer I use often. And then it's got other interfacings. So this is a drawer full of just interfacings, because they can be kind of difficult to organize and make look nice on a shelf, but they work great in a drawer. And we're going to end on showing you my childhood stick horse. This is what sparked the idea for me to start designing and making stick horses, was my childhood stick horse, because I loved it so much. As you can see, it was a gift from my mom and dad for Christmas one year, and I rode the hell out of it. You can see the stick is broken, the mane is coming out. My mom had to patch the top because the stick came through the top. She had to patch the chin because the chin ripped. She made it a new bridle, and I love every bit of this. It's a piece of my childhood, and I hope that these stick animals that you might make, the plushies that you might make, Stuff like that can be something so important to someone else as well. So I hope you enjoyed taking a peek at my studio, and we'll see you around next time.